welcome to the show. Hi, magician Brian Barrett, and here we are today, and it is a sunny Tuesday. Is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Oh, I think it's Tuesday. Is it? No, it's Wednesday. Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Sunny Wednesday in London. Brian is over somewhere exciting. Probably he wants to keep secret squirrel.
At the moment, yes. At the moment.
That's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. Excuse me. And today I was talking to a friend of mine this morning about love spells. His name is T, and we were discussing how do people use love spells themselves? How do they do it at home? Now, it could be somebody that knows that their partner that they might have fallen out with is part of their soul family. And so, I guess they don't want to get hardcore. Maybe they do want to get hardcore. What's your feelings about this, Brian?
Okay, I think the simplest explanation is leaves on a tree. Yeah. Okay. When the leaf has completed its task, it just falls off the tree. Trying to keep the leaf on the tree is virtually impossible or requires some really nasty chemicals that will destroy all the environment. And I believe that's much the same with a love spell. If love has gone out of the relationship, um, trying to rekindle it with love, I believe is incredibly dangerous. Not only that, we've got like evidence from it that there are many people that I know who have done this to keep their relationship alive, and it's completely backfired, to put it bluntly, because essentially, for somebody to love you, then realistically, it's got to be from the heart, it's got to be from the soul, and if it's not there, and you try and induce this, then you're going to have to use an entity. And if you're going to use an entity like Asmodeus or Lilith, then you're going to a dark side, and the result will not be good. I can tell you that from people that I know who have done it. To put it bluntly.
Yeah,
Hello.
maybe it's someone that they're with that they normally get on with and they're just arguing, that kind of thing.
Well, I mean that I would say. Would you believe that the one of the oldest forms of witchcraft service was counselling?
What is tantalum?
Counselling,
Oh,
counselling.
counseling.
Yeah, literally. They used to go and see the witches and the wise women, and they would sit down, and the magicians, and they would sit down, and they would have a counselling session. That was originally classed as witchcraft.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, realistically, if you're not getting on with somebody, the best way to do it is to literally have some kind of professional person talk you through what your problems are in your relationship. Like uh, using demons, angels, etc. Really, it's the last thing that you should do, because everything costs. Everything costs. Yeah. So if you are going to say use a servitor, for example, you're going to have to do a deal with this servitor, and if you get the deal wrong, it's going to cost you some form of spiritual or physical pain.
Hmm.
So realistically, the last thing always is to use supernatural forces, because they're not toys, and that's where a lot of people make the mistake. They believe that they can induce these forces, and literally nothing happens. I mean, the other day I was at a relative's farm, and they hadn't had rain on their farm for a long, long time. And I said to them, "Do you want me to make it rain?" And they said, "Yeah," thinking I was joking. And I made it rain for them. Literally, it hadn't rained for months, and I made it rain. And the rain came down and watered all the crops and saved all their money, to put it bluntly. However, afterwards they didn't take me seriously, and I said, "Look, you have, I have saved your crops. You must sacrifice an animal." And they put off sacrificing a chicken. And as I drove away, the front of my car just touched a tree, and it pulled the front end of it off. Yeah, because essentially the god was unsatisfied. So although like I did good, but the person didn't do it. I was the one who ultimately paid the price for that mistake. Yeah. And then eventually they did eventually say okay, and they slaughtered the chicken and put its blood over the land. But this is when you're dealing with supernatural entities, you are dealing with gods and goddesses and demons and jinns that are thousands and thousands of years old. We're only on this plane of existence for about maybe 60, 70 years, 80 years if you're very, very lucky. And that's the problem. That's the problem with all this. And
you mean they're more experienced because they've been living everlasting?
Well, absolutely, yeah. That is their that's their advantage. And of course, the primordial drives is how they manipulate humans, which is something that we should always understand. And so I always, when people ask me about love spells and stuff like this, it's something I stay well away from. Of course, I know how to make a love spell. I can tell you how to make a love spell now. Would I recommend you making a love spell? No, I wouldn't.
Well, we'll go through it so the listener knows how someone might do it.
All right, okay. If you wanted to make, say, well, one of the best love spells is to use a servitor. Yeah, okay. A servitor is a kind of a djinn. Okay. You can use Asmodeus. You could use
Astarte. I heard J.S. Garrett uses Astarte.
possibly. It depends what relationship you have with the with the god. You
And
can use.
starting from
Sorry.
that, would you say you said Asmodeus? Would they get hold of their sigil?
Well, once again, it depends how you're working. Yeah, what type of magician you are. Your sigils really are connected to what we would call chaos magicians. Yeah, okay. The ritualistic magician has two methods. He would either use a statue, or he would use, or he or she would use a black mirror, and they would summon the entity into the statue or into the black mirror. Okay.
Is that what John Dee used to use? Because he used a black mirror, right?
Well, black mirrors. I wouldn't. I don't know if he used a black mirror or not. It's essentially he used. Well, I mean, we don't know, because a lot of John Dee's work was destroyed. Yeah. Okay. And the Enochian system was only found by mistake, and quite a lot of the papers had been used to line pans so they could cook food. So it's not quite a full system. The other thing as well, which is also makes John Dee a little bit spurious, is the fact that his assistant Kelly was a known confidence trickster. Okay, that actually cut his ears off. I mean, I've read reports that he used a crystal. He may well have used. I mean, I've also read that they used a scrying mirror, so he could have used a scrying mirror. But I think the safest bet is that we don't really know, because so much of his work was destroyed. If that makes sense,
And
sense.
how do you make a black mirror? Is it just a mirror painted with black paint?
Well, that's the bullshit way, really. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's sort of, it's just garbage. An original black mirror is obsidian.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and what you have to do is you have to make a frame that supports the mirror without any nails or any metal whatsoever. And then you place the obsidian within the frame, okay? And then, of course, you set candles around it and stare into the obsidian mirror, and then whatever system of magic you use, you then evoke the god to come through to you. Okay.
And how do you call that god? So say I was calling Asmodeus, wouldn't I need the sigil, his sigil? How does he know I'm calling? Just by saying his
Well, I
name.
mean, well, I mean, rule number one, you know his name. Okay. Yeah. So you can summon him. You could, if you wanted, make a sigil, but like I said, that is mainly the realm of the chaos magician. Yeah, they're the ones who make the sigils. What 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 people tend to do is they will tend to, if ritualistic magicians will have a statue of Asmodeus, yeah, to concentrate on, or they will have an incantation written from a book, because how Asmodeus will appear is how culturally relevant his image is to yourself. Okay. Yeah. For example, when I'm in India, I know really dark magicians in India, and they tell me that they know when the neophyte is lying, because they describe the entity they're seeing in an Indian term. Okay. Where if you were seeing the entity in your own mind's eye, it would have a cultural formation that you can relate to. Okay. For example, the Djinn within the Arabic system are completely different to the fairy of, say, the European system. However, they're pretty much the same thing. Yeah. Okay. But it's how they appear to you, which sort of culturally, and that's something very important to understand, that when one is working with entities, is to not create something that actually doesn't exist. Is to really use the third eye. Yeah. Okay. And for that, one has to be in a state where you have no ego, and that you are completely open to the energies. And when you are completely to the energies, then the entity will appear in the form that it is. However, usually when you have opened your third eye, etc., the energy usually appears as light. or some kind of coloured light. Yeah.
Why
Okay.
is that? Why is that?
Well, because it's sort of that's really what they are. You know, I mean, they are beings of light, and the way we form them is, if you like, through our imagination.
Djinn Illuminated is a new book by Brian Barrott. It's the result of a lifetime study in occultism. Barrott has worked with adepts in India, Africa, and the Yemen. This book allows the reader access to the Djinn. Everything within its pages is authentic. This book has been reviewed by occultists such as J.S. Garrett, who believes it's one of the best books ever written on the subject of Djinn. It's also been reviewed by Sufi masters, namely German Quedo Myers, who believes this is a really good book. Moreover, Christine Hart, Sunday Times best-selling author, she writes, "This book is wonderful, a glorious read. It's not for nothing. Brian Barrett has been called the Djinn Master. If you want fame, if you want a better relationship, if you want spiritual awakening, Djinn Illuminated is available on Kindle."